this is something I really wanted to talk about. There, I just finished my workout, but I realized that, reflecting and thinking about certain things, I'm really grateful for things that have happened in the past and people I have been friends with in the past, because during that season of my life, or during that time, right, I really needed them. And although I realized that at some point in time we were going to have to separate, because I tend to know that, I'm like, I can't hang on to this friendship forever because it's not going to work. So, but at that time it was something I needed, right? And specifically from time of, let's say, 2014 to 2018, or really 2022, right? Those core, what was it, 2014 to 2022, I think, is that 7 years? If I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure. 8 years, sorry. I've met a whole bunch of people, right? And I was friends with not a lot of people, but several people that I'm not friends with now. And I realized, this is not only a part of life, but it's also just I don't want to hate these people that I'm not friends with anymore. Some people really often talk about how you need to forgive people, X, Y, and Z. I don't believe that. I think there's a level of, detaching from that situation and understanding it is what it was, and it is what it is now, right? It was good at the time, and, there were things that I didn't understand at that time that I understand now with maturity and just living life, that just was okay, this is not okay, this shouldn't be in a friendship, and it came with that, right? And thank God this wasn't at my detriment, or to my detriment physically, spiritually, that's a conversation for another day, but physically at that expense, because there are certain situations where people have lost their lives over friendships, and I can't say I've lost my life. I can say that I was inspired. I felt that I inspired others. I felt that I tried to mimic other people's lives, in hopes that my life would get better. But you know what? That was younger me, and I didn't understand that until now. I wasn't the best of friends to people, right? I wasn't a good friend. I tried my best, and so did they. And understanding that, at the time they tried their best, but it wasn't going to be good enough for me going forward. And I'm glad that I knew that, and I'm glad that I could make that observation and move forward. Even if I didn't like it, because it was just damn, I really have to make a change. This isn't it, right? And noticing that I'm not trying to hold that against them, because a part of me is just oh, I hate them. No, I will say that I don't acknowledge them for the simple fact that they are, quote unquote, not in my sphere, so I don't have to, acknowledge them. Because I learned what I had to learn. I went through what I had to went through. It was really good for the time, and I am extremely thankful for that time period. But I don't really owe anybody anything, and they don't owe me anything. And I think that's the number one thing to remember. People don't owe you shit, even when you're in a relationship, right? At the end of the day, people are going to do what they want to do. And if they want to build that relationship, then they will actively give. But at the end of the day, people are selfish. And I would say that to myself, right? I am selfish too. So, again, knowing that, people don't owe you anything. And you don't owe them anything, right? You don't. And some people on the internet will say, if you're in a relationship, you do owe their friends an explanation, X, Y, and Z. No, not all the time. You don't, right? Especially if you've been reflecting internally on that relationship and believing that isn't a relationship that's good for you long term, and you're making those small, changes to just make your exit, if that makes sense. Yeah. There should be respect, but also you don't owe anybody anything, right? Especially if you communicate. Now, this is something I will say. If you communicate with these people, right, and tell them that you aren't really treating me correctly, right, it's because you care about that relationship. Now, that you really have to decide, and this is also a message for me too, when that is acceptable and when it's not, because there are situations, more times than not, that some people are just treating you the way they are because they don't really like you, and under the guise that that's your friend. And that's a discernment topic that you need to, and I separately need to understand how that works, in each one of our lives differently. But yeah, that's something I realized. I don't want to hold a grudge. And I think that's also a part of the shadow work prompt that I have for this week. Like, do I hold grudges? I do hold grudges. And I think respectfully, you should hold grudges if you need to. Because some people really have done you dirty. Again, people don't owe you anything, right? And maybe you were oblivious to what they were doing and you didn't see the signs, right? Even if they were in your face, you didn't see the signs, X, Y, and Z. And when you found out that they were treacherous, hold them accountable and hold that grudge against them. I'm for that. I'm so serious. So they understand that you understand that that's not somewhere I want to go back to. But also it's just like, fuck that person. It's crazy I went from I don't want to hold that against it to hold a grudge. I think holding grudges are a respectable nature, are a respectable tactic for oneself. People like forgiveness. No, certain people don't deserve that. They don't. But yeah,